A very good evening. This is Eswatini TV News at 8. I'm Nathalie Tole alongside Namaklabisa Ngambule. First up, let's have a look at our top stories. His Majesty King Mswati III has presented a gift to His Majesty King Letsie III following his 60th birthday celebration. The Minister for Finance, Nurekenberg, says establishing the Scholarship Revolving Fund will ensure that Maswati are afforded the opportunity to enroll in tertiary institutions. Minister for Housing and Urban Development, Prince Melane, urges towns to create new streams of revenue for the sustenance of developmental programs in urban areas. Glad to have your company. His Majesty King Mswati III has presented a congratulatory gift to His Majesty King Letsie III following his 60th birthday celebration. His Majesty presented the gift on behalf of Her Majesty Ndlovukazi and the nation at Matsieng Royal Palace in the Kingdom of Lesotho.
His Majesty's visit to Matsieng Royal Palace and his private audience with King Letsie III was a strong affirmation of close relations between the kingdoms of Eswatini and Lesotho, which date back many years to the days of King Sobhuza II and King Moshoeshoe II. The two kings enjoyed a close relationship which deeply united the two nations. Years later, His Majesty King Mswati III and His Majesty King Letsie III are displaying their commitment to uphold the legacy that was created by the two kings, while also ensuring that relations between the two kingdoms take a giant leap forward. His Majesty the King congratulated King Letsie III on the success of his 60th birthday celebration and presented the gift on behalf of Her Majesty Ndlovukazi and the nation. King Letsie III extended his appreciation to His Majesty for the gift on behalf of the Queen Mother and the royal family of Lesotho. The king said the gift was a symbol of close relations that bind the two nations and their royal families. On the news, I am Sandile Makanya reporting from Matsieng Royal Palace in the Kingdom of Lesotho.
The Minister for Finance, Nurekenberg, says the establishment of the Scholarship Revolving Fund will ensure that Maswati are afforded an opportunity to enroll in tertiary institutions. Nurekenberg says government has increased scholarship budget from 360 to 600 million emalangeni to provide scholarships to vulnerable students. The minister was speaking when he was part of panel discussions during the official launch of the Eswatini World Bank Partnership Framework held in Babane.
The launch provided an opportunity for an engagement that seeks to better different sectors such as education and youth businesses. One of the key issues that were deliberated on was the issue of scholarships that was raised by the Junior Achievement Director, Phethile Masilela, who proposed that government should work with the private sector to mobilize funds that will help Maswati students enroll in the different tertiary institutions. When giving his response, the Minister for Finance, Nurekenberg, says the Scholarship Revolving Fund will solve all the existing issues pertaining access to scholarships.
We increased the scholarships, the budget for scholarships from 360 million to 600 million. So we have had a big bump just to try to get more funding for scholarships in place so that children can have better access to tertiary education. But secondly, even a bigger breakthrough was the Scholarship Revolving Fund. So we have now, it is a simple thing that went through Parliament, but it is going to have a huge implication. It's a fund that's now probably going to be sitting with Eswatini Bank, and it means that all the funding from the repayments go into the fund as well. Because the moment the repayments from the scholarships are coming back into the consolidated fund, we're now going to be pushing those back into the fund itself, and the bits of interest that are charged in so doing, that also goes back into the fund, as well as the 600 million from government goes into the fund. So now it's going to be a fund that will be growing exponentially.
Minister Nurekenberg says government is working with UNDP to ensure that students receive proper internship program as well. For Eswatini TV News, Ndomlangeni, Themba Shabangu, Babane.
Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Prince Milane, urges cities and towns to create new streams of revenue for the sustenance of developmental programs in urban areas. Prince Milane said this at Asibayan Lodge in Matapa when officially closing a 3-day training workshop for newly elected councillors on how best they can carry out their duties as they assume office.
Lema vendamanye la South Africa, nalamanye emafa, labo gezi, nabo mandi, konke lokho kubuya kuranishwe lidolobha. Ngekubekisa nje kuba lasembabane lidolobha liqala la Eswatini liyofika lengo yoyonako lapho kunelithanga lemanti khona. Sekwamasipala lokho indlela na ukuthi kwakheke etimali. Mina bengicela kwekuthi nakhona kunjalo phela kunemshuko abakhethela abasihlanu kuya kulaba lishumi kumikiswe ke lapho kumikiswa khona kuleyo organization sithe.
On behalf of the councillors, Bongani Mkhatshwa thanks government for the eye-opening induction workshop and asks for patience from all stakeholders as the new councillors take baby steps into their political career.
Asikholelwa nje ukuthi kutaba khona umsindo lo tawuba khona sitawubambana vele nangabe khona ngikhumbula bekunenkulumo beyivame ukukhulunywa inkosi Sobhuza saphila kuthi umnika ikala umtshelile yini ijobolo wakhe ukuthi litshekile kwekuqala kwangeke walalela waphinza futhi nekwesibili wangalalela kwesithathu sayindzaba ke leyo.
The first task that the new councillors are expected to perform as they start their work is that of electing mayors in the different towns and cities as per the dictates of the Urban Government Act of 1969. Reporting for Eswatini TV, I am Mbongwa Dube in Matapa.
The Ministry of Public Service says it is important to strengthen strategic partnerships for sustainable service delivery. The Principal Secretary in the ministry said this during the Eastern and Southern African Management Institute breakfast meeting held at the Hilton Garden Inn in Mbabane. This meeting has been attended by civil servants, Clerk of Parliament Benedict Klaba, Judge Lungile Msimango and Principal Magistrate Figlin Hlabatsi, among others.
Eastern and Southern African Management Institute has hosted a breakfast meeting where it interacted with stakeholders from different public sector departments. The aim was to deliberate on the topic of strengthening strategic partnerships for sustainable service delivery. This meeting was also attended by Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Public Service. Sipho Tsabetse was represented by Richard Pungwayo.
As a board member ourselves for Eswatini, it is an honor to host this event, which brings together key stakeholders from various sectors to explore avenues for collaboration and forge enduring partnerships.
Other speakers also spoke to the importance of strengthening strategic partnerships.
If you want to go far in life, be very careful of two things: strategic as well as partnership. Even the Holy Bible says, can the two walk together except they agree? Most of our institutions, human capital, we are literally dying because we do not recognize the importance of strategic partnership.
We want to be known that we are in the business of developing leaders and managers for improved and effective service delivery. All of Africa, I'm sure we can appreciate that the challenge of our times is how do we improve services for our people.
Other speakers at the event were Judge Lungile Msimango and Love Movilane from the insurance sector. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela with Skumbuzo Dlamini, Mbabane.
The South African High Commissioner had an opportunity to repaint and plant trees at the Fontaine Soup Kitchen in Mbabane. Her Excellency Spogazi Sipamla has also encouraged people to continue showing and doing acts of kindness that will make a difference in other people's lives. Her Excellency was speaking during the High Commission's Mandela Day commemoration at the Fontaine Care Point.
The people of Fontaine in Mbabane experienced the kind spirit of Mandela Day as the South African High Commissioner had a chance to repaint the Fontaine soup kitchen. The South African High Commissioner in Eswatini, Her Excellency Spokazis Pamla, says people can give anything that they can afford to show Ubuntu.
We give of what we have today. That is why we go around, we plant trees, which we'll do next year. We'll plant trees next year. Last year, we cleaned the area, Mandela Street in Eswatini. Today, we're at Fontaine. This is a soup kitchen. So we want the soup kitchen to look good so that people are motivated when they come to it. Mandela Day is none other than a giving day, a day where you give of yourself. You don't have to give money. You make sure that you give of you.
The Mbabane Municipal Council's Public Relations Officer Laki Tabete says the partnership between the South African High Commissioner and the Council seeks to give back to the community.
Le partnership lena lesiyibambile ne South African High Commission vele itawukhula and ligalelo lakhe Nelson Mandela sonke siyalathi. Siyathemba ke nathi ukuthi we'll be doing our best ukuthi sizame kufika kuleyo impact la ishiya emhlabeni.
Nelson Mandela's birthday is celebrated across the world as it represents kindness and the spirit of giving back to the community, especially to the less privileged. For Eswatini TV News Sondomlangeni, Themba Shabangu, Mbabane.
Nhlanhla Mnisi has been unveiled as the new Civil Service Commission's Executive Secretary. CSC Chairman Smanga Mamba says they hope Mnisi will play a vital role in the Commission's transformation. Mamba has unveiled Mnisi at the CSC offices in Mbabane on Tuesday.
Civil Service Commission Chairman Simanga Mamba says Nhlanhla Mnisi has vast experience in the civil service. Mamba says they bank on this experience to help in the transformation exercise the Commission is engaged in.
Mnisi-ke ufika ku-Civil Service Commission nje usikhanza silungisela kwenta strategic plan sayo i-Commission. Futhi-ke kunemsebenzi lesiwendako kuzama kufaka i-excellence within i-civil service nema-systems lakahle ne-corporate governance kuyo i-Civil Service Commission.
Mnisi has thanked the opportunity and has also vowed to hold it with both hands.
Sikholelwa ke kakhulu etintweni letintsatfu umhlonishwa sihlalo we-Civil Service Commission. Lengicabanga ukuthi ukuthenzile umhlonishwa sihlalo nema-commissioners. Ku-teamwork, ku-continuous learning, sikholelwa naku transparency and integrity. The commission itself, the secretariat, na hulumende wonkhana nje sisasebenzisana nesive ngoba lo msebenzi wesive.
Mnisi has been said to have worked for the Prime Minister's Office, Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Public Service. He is also reported to have started working in the public service in 2004. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela with Skumbuzo Lamini, Mbabane.
It is imperative for parastatals to be exemplary in complying with the laws of the country, which include the Procurement Act of 2011, which regulates the procurement of goods and services by public companies. These were the sentiments of Eswatini Bank Managing Director Nosizwe Mulela during the training workshop for Eswatini Bank's Board of Directors and Executive Officers on the Procurement Act. The training workshop is being held at Happy Valley Hotel in Eswatini, and it is facilitated by Eswatini Public Procurement Regulatory Agency.
As public companies are expected to comply with all the provisions of the Procurement Act when conducting their businesses of soliciting goods and services, Eswatini Bank has deemed it necessary to upscale the knowledge of its board of directors and executive officers on the requirements of the procurement law. The managing director of Eswatini Bank, Nozizwe Mulela, says as a public company, they prioritize the upskilling of their employees for the improvement of work delivery.
felt it necessary that we ask ESPPRA to come through and just take us through the Act and the regulations so that we ensure that we comply fully with the Act. We are one of the largest entities of the state, so it's important that we lead by example and ensure that we do things according to law. Now, we are also an entity that operates in a very competitive space, the banking industry. So if you're in the banking industries, you have to try and procure as fast as possible, and the quality is also very important.
The Capacity and Advisory Officer at the Eswatini Public Procurement Regulatory Agency, Nomiles Melane, says they are open to invitation by other parastatals to help capacitate them on the procurement law in order to improve their procurement systems. On the news, I'm Mbongwa Tobe, Ezolwini.
The Swaziland Association of Students Against Drug Abuse and Trafficking says there are far more young Emaswati who want nothing to do with tobacco than those who smoke it. The organization says despite this, it continues to speak against drug abuse so the majority can influence the minority. This has been said at the George Hotel in Manzini during the closing of a string of regional meetings hosted by SADC.
The Swaziland Association of Students Against Drug Abuse and Trafficking says there are fewer pupils who use tobacco than those who do not in Eswatini.
Majority of them don't. But the few that do it in such a way that we get very scared and you look around and you think that, oh, the children are doing this kind of thing, the way they don't care and so on. So we have to let these ones who are not doing it know that they are the majority.
SADC Board of Trustees Chairman Johannes Malinzisa says everyone has to pull to the same direction in the fight against the use of tobacco among young people.
We are appealing to you guys here. We are about to finish. Siyabafuna nebafundisi babelokwana. Siyabafuna abafundisi bangene. Sitosebena nawo. Kubi ngisho le masoniveni sekubi. Bahlala nje bathule bathi thu. Nabaphuma
The Ministry of Health says there are health risks associated with smoking from an early age.
Tifo letihambisana nesifo senhlitiyo lakhona uthola inhlitiyo seyisebenta madima kwenta umsebenzi wayo ukuthi ithumele ingadi etindzaweni temtimba ngalokuthi imithambo yalo ukuhambisa lengadi isuke vele seyinciphile ngenxa yomthelela waleligwayi incipha kwayo kwesekutawubanga ukuthi inhlitiyo isebente kamadima naletinye tifo bese yachakela.
The Center for Disease Control website states that more than 480,000 people die from smoking annually in the world. It goes on to say some of these casualties are as a result of secondhand smoking. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela with Skumbuzo Dlamini, Manzini.
The Eswatini Youth Consortium calls upon the youth to participate in the national elections. Sipile Ndlangamandla, who represents the consortium, says the time for young people to be in influential positions has come. Ndlangamandla says the youth participation will ensure that their voices are heard. Ndlangamandla was speaking in a press briefing session in Babane.
This coming weekend, the national elections will proceed to the nomination stage. The Eswatini Youth Consortium calls upon the youth to participate in the national elections. Sipile Ndlangamandla, representing the consortium, says they have strategies in place to support young people who want to stand for the elections. Ndlangamandla says they will ensure that they get the necessary advice from all the people who have the experience. The youth also expressed that giving them a chance to lead will ensure that Eswatini realize the dream of going digital.
As a consortium, all the young people we are pushing, the cities is behind them. We are going to hold them accountable. How are we going to make sure we have so many strategies going forward. How are we going to make sure that we act differently from all along?
Facebook, WhatsApp. Digital world.
Over 500 people in Eswatini registered for the 2023 elections. Their Majesties have encouraged the Maswati to vote for the youth disabled persons and women. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Themba Shabangu, Mbabane.
Matonsa residents have been left tongue-tied following a movie-like incident whereby criminals cut off electricity supply to the area and proceeded to cut off copper wires from households to the main power line. The Eswatini Electricity Company says the way this has been done indicates that the people behind this know a thing or two about electricity. Around 6 homes have been reportedly stolen from, and the estimated value of the stolen copper is 12,000 emalangeni.
This is where the criminals are believed to have made their first stop. Here they broke the lock and lowered this lever to cut power supply to Matonsa, disconnecting hundreds of homesteads from the grid.
Nevele silala sikhanyisile ngenzaba lo mfana vele kusukela mncane ngomfundisa nje vele ukuthi sikhanyise silale kukhanya. Ngaso sengibona ukuthi bese souyaphaphama
Matonsa Community Police tell us what they witnessed.
Bafike bajubelale nganangana bafikele ekhaya bagibele letulu umuntu losinzako njengale ekhaya savakiswa ukuthi isetule emathayileni lenzamba kulele eminye imithi ukhanza kule nzamba iconze libonzeni kulula ukuthi bayijubele emphakathi baze beve yahamba la yawela latulu kulamanye emathayeli bayihoshula ngikhathi evakele lo langa ekhathi ukuthi hayi ngathi kuyahusha kanjani maka siphume yabukhanza abantu bebinzamba.
The Eswatini Electricity Company confirms the reports.
Bathi sebacishile ke lapho la bathinze khona babese bangenela ke imiti bebanathi inzambo tata gas leti ifaka gas ekhathe endlini. Kunemiti nje lesithupha lesitholile la bafike beba khona. Nasibekisa nje indleko taleti inzambo lebadebile tiyafika lapha 12,000.
The public is warned to be vigilant when there are power cuts, as there may be people stealing copper. The public is urged to call police in the event it sees suspicious activity. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela with Cindy Swazwane and Skumbuzo Dlamini, Matonsa.
And now let's have a look at our financial indicators. And moving on to sports, Chief Operations Officer at the Women Football Association, Dandoe Nkosi Tlatrago, says the level of competition displayed by women clubs in the past season proved that indeed women football is growing in leaps and bounds in the country. Let's have a look.
Following the conclusion of the women football season, where the season saw some improvement in terms of development and competition amongst clubs, the Eswatini Women Football Association has come out to applaud clubs and other different stakeholders who contributed to the growth of the league. According to the Chief Operations Officer, Dandoe Nkosi Tlatrago, the full attention will be now given to development programs.
Ebholeni labomake ikakhulu nasibuka ukuthi sibe nawo ama-tournaments lesibe nawo kwadlalwa phindze sibe nasibuka eminyakeni lophelile kube bede ama-tournaments lesinawo but kulo mnyaka sibe nawo ama-tournaments adlala nayo iligi iphele isezingeni lelisedule umsakade. Siyabonga futhi kakhulu ukuthi sekakhona ama-programs lakhona ekuthuthukisa lona libhola labomake siyakholwa siyethemba kakhulu ukuthi nalamanye ama-programs asetawuqhamuka avuke. Siyabona ukuthi cha libhola labomake lindlela litawuthuthuka eminyakeni letako nasibuka ema-programs lakhona ne-future yayo ibhola yabomake yinhle ichakazile.
This Thursday, the Women League will be holding their prize presentation where the eventual champions, Young Buffaloes ladies team, will walk away with their trophy. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabisum Sonera, Mbabane.
Eswatini Football Association Ethics Committee has announced the names of candidates in different positions who will be taking part in the Shiseleni Regional Football Association elections to be held on the 30th of July this year.
And for the position of the chairman, Shiseleni Regional Football Association nominated Kosinati Kunene and Pekani Kumalo. These are the two candidates for the Shiseleni region who are standing for the position of the chairman And then for the vice chairperson or vice chairman, there's John Makubane, there's Kumbuzo Dlamini, there's Joseph Teller, there is Mpakati Lulu, and there's also Rudolph Saulos, Smangele Zwane, and Sibusiso Msibi. These are the positions, in fact, the candidates for the vice chairperson's position. And for the members' position, we have the following. Firstly, it's Sifiso Skosana, Ishmael Kosinati Dlamini, Smangele Zwane, Sibusiso Kosinati Msibi, Saverius Sibanze, Sibusiso Nzima, Mpakati Lulu, Wanda Teller, Johannes Makubane, Mdeni Ndwandwe, Joseph Sabelo Teller, and Kosinati Kunene. It is worth mentioning by the committee, that is the ethics committee, to say that the committee hereby notifies nominees that there shall be no campaigns, and thus any form of campaigns for all the positions is strictly prohibited, whether those acts are done directly by the nominees or indirectly by their purported agents.
That's all for now. Before I go, here's a reminder of our top stories. His Majesty King Eswatini III has presented a gift to His Majesty King Letsie III following his 60th birthday celebration. The Minister for Finance, Nurekenberg, says establishing the Scholarship Revolving Fund will ensure that Eswatini are afforded the opportunity to enroll in tertiary institutions. Minister for Housing and Urban Development, Prince Melane, urges towns to create new streams of revenue for the sustenance of developmental programs in urban areas. And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the crew. Many thanks for your company. Take care.
Phela makhaya inkosi nangabe phela udukhohliwe timbe phatakho buye eceleni ubuye eceleni phela thina sijeke emsebentini awungeke phela ukhohlela le-ID nenombolo yokuvota ngilele basifakele yona phela la tincingweni ha ngibonini buye eceleni nkosi yathi ngijeke emsebentini kwani mina hayi wena msawumnye ngathi igaba lesithathu ihamba phela nkosi tithi nyalo sigaba secala sasihamba yi-voter validation lapho khona sithi hamba uye emphakathi wangakini uyohlolisisa ukuthi le mininingwane lowayibhala ingiyo yini nendzawo la nto ovotela khona niyokahle kahle nje sithi lapho nkosi hlolisisa imininingwane yakho nathi sibambisane ukuthi imininingwane yakho ibhaleke kahle yini nani hayi phela lokho kutawondeka lebo 22 June kuyale ku 12 July yebo bese ke sigaba lesilandzelako say-nomination coach lapho khona kubheka ukuthi ngenkundla inominate lokungenani bantu labacela 3 kuya ku-20 kuze ke umuntu anqonye kufuneka lokungenani abe nemavoti langu-10 ngiyahleka yini mfana babe ngoba ngithi nje lekhaya selisendvo ngitawungena nje ngigijima nonyaka simfaka umuvu longakake wasendela lutho asimfaka acele ama-project ngokubuya phuma ikosha yanti lathi indzaweni kulama community thina sifayisana nema-problems mbamba sithi ngama-solution bamba yebo koshi hayi kahle phela benguye kulandzela yena mkhulu ngicela ufake yena yebo bekacele ukuthi ngimbambele kulandzela yena bese ke sigaba lesilandzelako senama-primary elections wona ke lama-primary elections atawondeka lebo 26 August 2023 phela koshi bese ke lokulandzelako senama-secondary elections lapho khona wona atawuthatha lebo 29 September 2023 ngiyahleka yini mfana babe ngoba lamkhathiseni kwama-primary nalama-secondary kutabe kune-campaign process lokusho ukuthi umuntu ufuneka atitshengise ukuthi wakhiwe ngani sitawufa amakabishi nani okulandzela mina ngiyabonga sisi
Lo mlayeto nulethelwa abaka-EBC, Elections and Boundaries Commission of Eswatini.
Here, While some sleep on one side of the globe, on the other, dreams are